Okay, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. This is another episode from the wonders of the internet, which is where we all live now. Although things are starting to get better, we all still live online. And the guest on the show is someone who, it's funny because I've talked to you about other projects, and it seems like the band we're here to talk about today, it always seems to me like that's your main band, and we haven't actually technically done a show on the podcast about the Uglies. So I think the best way to kind of start this whole thing off is if you want to introduce yourself and maybe give a bit of background about this particular project, because I know you have a lot of things going on.
Oh yeah. Well, hi, I'm Brendan. Sam, thanks for having me on. This is awesome. So yeah, as you said, this is kind of like I have lots of stuff going on and whatnot, but the Uglies, funny enough, it's kind of the main gig.
Yeah.
Just in terms of what I do for playing local music and stuff, and it's basically just five best friends playing punk rock. That's kind of the idea. That's what it's always sort of been. So yeah.
Cool. Well, I have the record. I've been listening to it. I have a lot of questions for you about the record, but before we even get into any of that, I feel like this is a show that really goes for the hard news. So I need to ask you about the Red Lobster thing because
yeah.
I think that when I saw that you were releasing this album at a Red Lobster parking lot, I initially misread it and thought you were actually playing at Red Lobster. And
a lot of people did think that, right? Yeah, that's funny because just a lot of people were like, "Hey, so are you guys actually gonna be playing?" Like, we're like, no, we're just idiots and we're gonna be camping out here for a couple hours.
Why Red Lobster? Like, of all the places to release, all the parking lots in the city to release a record, why that one?
Well, we all grew up on Happy Gilmore.
Okay. Fair enough, yeah.
Kids in the 90s, and obviously in Happy Gilmore, the Red Lobster kind of plays an integral role in the film. and there's something about, like, I think it's funny, I was talking with my buddy there, Steve Nelson.
Yeah.
And just in terms of, like, restaurants that I find hilarious, I would probably put the Red Lobster on the top of the list, but, like, other restaurants that make the cut, Applebee's, I find that restaurant funny.
Didn't Steve work at Applebee's for like 100 years?
Yeah, he managed the one on Pemina there. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And what's another one? The Olive Garden. I find that restaurant funny too.
No, Olive Garden and Red Lobster. You got those right beside each other.
And they're right beside each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, that restaurant is like, we were contemplating ordering it from Skip the Dishes one night, but the dishes, man, are like almost like $25 to $30 per pasta plate.
Really? Eh?
Ridiculous. Yeah.
It's gone up. Things have changed. Yeah. Since the 90s of yeah.
So yeah, that's why the Red Lobster, just because, like, I guess on the album or whatever, we're trying to kind of throw in some Sandler references. Obviously, there's a song called Jackass or Caddyshack, which is a different golf movie, but golf is hilarious. And within that, this Red Lobster thing just seemed really funny.
I noticed that the reason I think I thought it was happening at Red Lobster is because you had the Red Lobster logo like right in the post. I assume Red Lobster didn't give you any backlash about it, eh?
Oh, no, that's just Shane. He's really good. He probably threw that thing together in like half a second because that's, the kind of guy that he is. But yeah, it looked pretty legit, did it not?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to get that out of the way at the beginning of the interview here because I thought it was hilarious. But the record itself, Something's in the Water. How long had it been since the last album? Like, it had been a few years, right? Between records?
Oh yeah, like we started recording this one in, like, some of these songs we were playing in like 2016.
Okay.
But yeah, we were recording this thing for about 4 years, it seemed like. I think we did the drums in 2017.
Oh wow, so it's been a while. It's been in the works for.
Oh yeah, like when you and I were.
You're back. You're here.
I'm back. When we did that hang, when we met up at the jam space at the Goodwill there, I remember talking about it, and like lots of this stuff was done at that point.
Okay, so it's been in the works for a while. So what took so long? What was the reason behind it? Is it just everyone involved in other projects, or?
Not really that. I think that's sort of just every little puzzle piece. I'll keep it polite here, but I'll dare I say shit show. Just like. The drums, okay, then the guitars, and Shane recorded the whole thing, which was nice because it gave us that like we were able to kind of take our time. And in hindsight, I think it turned out really well because of that. Lots of time to dot our T's and cross our I's, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, so the first time I listened to it, when I got the copy dropped off my house, which is great, thank you. I listened to it. I was doing other stuff. I'm like, this is a good punk rock record, and I liked it, but I was kind of occupied with other stuff. Then I listened to it again, and I'm like, this is a really good punk rock record. And then I listened to it a few more times, and it seems like there's so much happening on this album. It's not just, I mean, there's hooks like you would expect from this kind of music, but I mean, you have strings in there, you have a choir, and it seems like the songs, and I don't know if this is a factor of just having that extra time, are a lot more complex than maybe one would expect on the surface from a punk band.
Yeah, well, that means a lot, man. That's kind of the idea, I guess. I think like what I tried to do with like every second song, like I'm a major Propaganda fan, so like you listen to their tunes, they don't really go, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Like they kind of, there's some songs where, like there won't be like a repeating part. So
it has to fit the story of the song or the lyrics more importantly than the structure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So tried emphasis on but tried to do that for a few of the tunes. And yeah, there was just so much time to kind of think about things. And yeah, that's basically that, I guess.
Does any inspiration for that come from your previous record, the one we talked about last time, the Plymouth Breeze album, which was also very layered and also had a lot of maybe unexpected for a punk record parts?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, that was just kind of like a quick little thing, but I would probably say for sure. But yeah, just trying to throw in, like, I guess on that I had my buddy Barry play some cello, so it was kind of like taking that idea, but it's like how can we make that idea cooler, like, why not have a big ending where there's, a crap ton of winds and do this big choir thing. So in hindsight, it's definitely, I mean, we're super proud of it. It's kind of like, whoa, as if we pulled it off,
Yeah.
Because right now, especially with COVID, I mean, 30-40 person choir, it's not going to happen, So it was kind of like, oh man, we just kind of got in with our foot in the door in hindsight.
Yeah, that's good. The timing, I guess, sort of worked out for once for somebody with COVID. Like COVID has screwed up everyone else's schedules, but this long in the works process, I guess it actually kind of.
That's a super funny thing. Yeah, absolutely. And what's really funny? A joke is like, because three of these dudes are like, they got the careers going on, but Cody and I we're still students, but we'd have to give our Mr. Justin Trudeau a shout out for those Serb checks. Because I mean, we got it mixed and mastered at a place called the Blasting Room.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that cost, it was super expensive, but that was a joke that Ryan cracked. Like, thank you, Mr. Trudeau, for your Serb allowance. So,
but I mean that getting it mixed and mastered there, that place has like just a crazy resume of albums they've worked on, like over the last few decades. I mean, obviously, I know why you'd want to do it there, but how important was it to sort of get that kind of pedigree on the songs that you were working on?
Oh, dude, it was. I remember I was hanging out at Shane's place, and we'd been toying around with this idea for a really long time, but it kind of seemed very out of reach. It's like kind of thing where it's like, if we even send the email, are these guys gonna even get back to us? So I remember Shane sent the email, and then we got a text message from Shane. And it was Bill Stevenson.
Wow.
Like, hey, Shane. It was, I mean, like, obviously Descendants, right? So we're kind of.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And Black Flag and everything else, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it's a business and they're for hire. It was expensive, but in hindsight, getting that first, like, it was kind of like when we were getting these mixes, because they'd fire out about 2 a day.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of like it was like just something like to look forward to every day. Like hearing a mix like that is kind of like going from like Duck Hunt to virtual reality. It was
no doubt.
It really rocked my socks off. So it was I couldn't say enough about it. It was just such a cool experience,
Yeah, and that I mean, that's like a really good thing to have in the credits of your record too, right? Like, I mean, if someone's looking up online and they see that, it's like, well, this is I mean, I know they're for hire and I know that they'll, you can pay them to do your album for them, but it's still like, you're in a punk band, you get that guy involved in what you're doing. It means a lot, I think, to people who know who he is.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, right? I mean, their discography is
it's crazy.
The list is massive, right?
Yeah. So what's now that this is out, I mean, it's out, you put it out kind of at the end of the pandemic, hopefully. I mean, things seem to be sort of getting better, maybe. But what's sort of the next step now? Like, you probably can't have a release show like you maybe would have wanted to in different times. So what's the plan going forward with this? Now you have this album out. How do you kind of push it to listeners?
Well, yeah. So zero delusions of grandeur. I mean, I think it is what it is. I mean, we haven't, just because of COVID, like we haven't even jammed in so long. So
I believe
there's
it.
no
Yeah.
expectations for this thing, but I guess it would be cool to do like a CD release, and I'm already kind of scheming. It's like, maybe this would be fun to do again.
Yeah.
So I could probably, the hamster wheel's spinning, so to speak. But yeah, there's no real plans actually. It would be, I think it would be fun to do like a CD release party or something. But curious to see where it all goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the reception been so far? Like, I mean, when I posted that I had a copy of it, I got a bunch of people saying, "Oh, this album's great. I love it." And it's all the usual suspects, right, from the local scene, who they're gonna dig it, right? But what has the kind of broader reaction been to people who've heard it, from people who've heard it?
Yeah. I don't know. In terms of it, I think what would be cool, it'd be cool if it could like catch on, if we could get it on like a punk site or something.
Yeah.
When we did our first EP, this site called Dying Scene did a
Oh yeah.
little write-up.
I know that site. Yeah.
And but it was crazy. Like just from that alone, I mean, there was suddenly people on our Bandcamp page, because I feel like in 2016-15, Bandcamp was a little, it was a bit of a bigger deal, but people were like buying it online and stuff. So it would be cool to kind of to have it kind of get outside of the city, so to speak. But like I said, there's no expectations there. But that's kind of the dream.
I mean, I hope that happens too, of course. But what I'm wondering is, you're saying there's no expectations, but then you did shell out the money to get it done by these big name, you get it mixed and mastered by having Bill Stevenson involved. Like, what if you're not worried about like how it's received, why put that much effort in and all these years of work into it? I'm glad you did, because it's a really good album. But what was sort of like, why do it? Why do it if you don't care if anyone hears it, right? You know what I mean? Like,
what? Save your money, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's honestly just because we grew up on that Fat Record stuff. So it honestly, the real reason, Sam, is just total bucket list thing. So it's more so it's if people do listen to it, cool, but it's more so like it's the kind of thing where I'm happy with it to the point where in 10 years time I think I will feel the same way. Whereas sometimes, we get a little sick of this or that. And I think just like when you kind of shell out for a product like that, it's heightened a little bit. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, yeah, it's something that you put this much time and work and effort into it and money into it, that it's going to hold up. Whereas something you recorded in your basement, maybe dashed off in a week, might not have the same. That makes sense for sure. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah.
So what is I think I probably asked you this before too, but I always wonder, like, when someone's putting out a record like this, which, like we said, it has a lot more going on than just a punk rock album, but it does have very much, like you're talking about, the Fat Record stuff. It has those 90s kind of vibes to it for sure. Like, those influences are very clear when listening to it. What is the ongoing appeal of that stuff for you? Like, why does that stuff still hit 20, 30 years later?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Because it does for me too. It does for me too. I love it too, but I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's just nostalgia or if there's something specific about it that it just kind of always works.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, it was kind of the first love. It's just kind of ingrained in my brain. No matter how much I want to, listen to this or that, I always come back to it. And I'm surely you could probably feel the same way about whatever it is, right? So that's the quick. It's just, I think growing up, like I remember, you're a wee bit older than I am.
I think so, yeah.
When I was 9 years old, I mean, I heard like Enema of the State, right? Blink-182. I mean, they're whatever, but that record kind of stuck with me, and then getting into that then brought me into like No Effects and all that stuff. So just like it was a really exciting thing, and I think also like getting into guitar playing at the same time, it's like, oh, like I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool. You can learn these songs. So it was just a really exciting time. So I think that Fat Wreck thing is just going to be kind of, ingrained in my brain until whether I like it or not kind of thing, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like that thing that where you listen to music at a certain age, and no matter what that music is, when you were between the ages of X and Y, it's always going to be the best thing ever for you. And I think that makes sense too, is that people, like I do that. I mean, I'm almost 40 now, and like the stuff in the early 90s to mid 90s, that's just like my favorite music of all time. No matter how much different stuff I listen to now, and it's my tastes have very much changed. But you put on like a Soundgarden tape. I said tape, but there we go, right? But like you put on a Soundgarden record, and it's just automatically I'm like, okay, this is amazing. I'm listening to it, and it's just because like when I was 12, 13, whatever, I was listening to Super Unknown, right? So it's the same thing, yeah.
But yeah, when you were growing up, what was that stuff for you?
It would have been like the grunge stuff, and then into the kind of I guess like and Out Come the Wolves, like that kind of era, and
bingo,
Punk and Drublic and stuff. Like
I was like, when are we getting into the ska tonight?
Oh yeah. the ska stuff was high school. The ska stuff, because that was like I guess mid to late '90s that was happening, right? So that was high school, and yeah, that stuff was. But that came from.
Was Rancid the gateway drug?
Kind of. I am always happy to talk about ska, so let's just do it.
Well, we did this last time.
I was
like, I wonder how long we could make it until we get into the ska stuff.
Yeah, no, a friend of mine said he does a drinking game with my show where he like takes a drink every time I mention ska or reggae on the show. So it must happen a lot. But no, Rancid was definitely like that album was definitely a gateway drug. But also I listened to a bunch of reggae and two-tone stuff because my dad is from England and he brought all his records with him. So I had Madness and stuff and all the and a bunch of reggae things as well because it's so huge over there. So I was already kind of primed for it as a kid. And then when I started hearing those same sounds in Rancid, NoFX, and all these bands, it was like, oh, this is obviously I'm gonna like this,
Yeah, well, there was a ton of great stuff coming out of like that Hellcat Records.
Oh, for sure, yeah, like the Slackers and Hepcat and all that stuff, yeah.
I mean, how cool you had Vic Ruggiero at your house. That's insane.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Yeah. But actually, you know what? Not to stray too far from the
yeah. Sorry, man. Sorry.
No, we can do this.
I'm bad for that, by the way. You'll notice with me, it's like, ooh, shiny things. So you gotta reel me in. I won't take offense to it.
No. We can do this all day. But I was just speaking of Hellcat Records and sort of music that influences you. That first Given the Boot compilation, I think for a lot of people, took them in so many directions. Like there's so many bands that got into like street punk stuff and ska and reggae and like just some of the because it was such a diverse, had Dropkick Murphys and the Slackers and Hepcat and the Scatolites and Rancid and everything else on it. And it was just so I think it's like the Fat Records compilations too. Those things were so huge that people got turned on so much stuff back in the day.
Yeah, it's crazy. So on my my little radio show there, Steve-O and I, we've been we're getting back to it next week, but
nice.
We're trying to hit basically every year with Fat Records. So we've been having a crap ton of fun, and it's been really neat to like revisit that stuff.
Yeah,
and especially you're right, like these it's funny, like I totally miss that. I know you're like you're a big physical format guy, but I miss like that. Getting these compilations, and that's how you discovered these bands, and then you go out, save up your cash. Ooh, I like this. Go buy this record. It was a really exciting thing.
I still kind of do that, but that actually brings me to a good question though. Is like, okay, so that era is unfortunately sort of gone, right? The way people consume music is totally different. There are people like me who are still getting physical copies, but for the most part, people are streaming or however they're doing it, Spotify, whatever, right? So how do you get your band heard above because now you're not just competing with all the bands in the record store, you're competing with all the bands in the world ever, right? People can access. Right. So what's kind of have you figured out a way, whether it's through this project or others, to sort of like, how do you get yourself heard?
I have no idea. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, it's a pretty bush league operation here. So if you got any ideas, please let me know.
Feel about that stuff though? How do you feel about streaming and the way that your music is kind of being made available to people? And the reason I ask this too is because listening to this record, it kind of works start to finish. Like it ends on a really big note, right? Like the whole album kind of it builds to the ending, and the ending is the last song there was got two parts and everything, and like it's so.
Well, I appreciate it, because that was the goal. So that's really cool to hear. So yeah, thank you.
People aren't going to listen to it like that though, right? I mean, I'm sitting there with a CD in my CD player that doesn't even have a fast forward button, so I have to listen to the whole thing. But nice. The average person on Spotify, they're going to sort of pick and choose, or even just get whatever random song comes up. So is it difficult to? Well, I guess how do you feel about the fact that someone's going to listen to something you've put all this time and money and effort into, and they are likely not going to listen to it the way it was intended to be listened to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess the quick answer would be it is what it is. It's unfortunate. It's a dying breed, this whole album thing, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I don't know. And my thoughts on the whole streaming thing, like I'm guilty as charged. Like I used to kind of talk a lot of smack about it, even like when I started my radio show, I was like, well, because I was going into the station.
Mm-hmm.
It's only vinyl and CD, but the reality is when I do my radio show now, everything's getting lifted off Spotify. It's just kind of what it is, man. So it is quite sad. I'm very, what do you think? Where do you think it's all going to head?
I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, I don't have that much experience listening to stuff on streaming services. We have, like, my wife has Spotify, and we have these little Google Home things. So there was a time, like, our basement flooded a few months ago, and I had to work upstairs. All my records had to be moved to another house, to my parents' place, like in storage, while we were fixing the basement. So for a while, I had no music. So I would sit there working, and while I'm working, I like to listen to music, and I'd be home by myself, and I would just yell at this Google thing to play music for me. But
yes. Hey, Google.
All I could think about though was just the same stuff that I always like. I didn't experience anything new. I just said, "Hey Google, play Bad Brains," and then I would listen to Bad Brains for like 8 hours in a row, and then the next day I'd be like, "Play Bad Brains," so I think that the benefits of this kind of all music available at your fingertips thing, I didn't really do it right. I just kind of listen to the same shit I always would be listening to anyway.
Hey, here's a question, because you have some wee ones, right?
Yeah, I got 2 kids. Yeah.
Now, what, like, for them when it comes to music, what, just like, it's funny because being a guitar teacher, sometimes when you ask kids like, what do you listen to, they don't even know what the hell you're talking about. They're like, they have no idea what they listen to.
Yeah, it's like weird stuff from YouTube, and they don't even know the artist names. And then when they tell me the artist names, I have no idea what it is, and they play it for me, and I can't even identify the genre. But like, it's just like the way of discovering stuff is so different, right?
Yeah, well, I'm assuming you being the cool dad, you're probably trying to throw some stuff at them and
I try to.
Check this out. Yeah,
they hear it in the car anyway, like whatever I'm kind of forcing on them. Yeah.
But like their buddies and stuff, like what are these kids? What are these darn kids listening to?
I don't know. I think that I'm gonna find out sooner rather than later because my oldest is in middle school. So that was the same age I was when I started a band for the first time, right? So I feel like that's kind of the era that a lot of kids sort of really get into music, if they're going to really get into music. So I'm sure I'll be getting requests to buy tickets for such and such show at some point in the next couple of years, and then I'll really get a taste for what the hell it even is. Because I don't pretend to understand what this new stuff is even about.
Totally.
But where like if people want to get a copy of this, obviously it's on the streaming services. Are you I like how you refer to the CDs as coasters, which is great because that's how a lot of people use them, right? But what's the best way to hear it? Where should people go if they want to hear this? Like, is Bandcamp your preferred choice because you get actually some money out of it, or?
No, I would say just hop on. I jokingly call them Crapple Music or Snotify. Get on there, stream the album that way. We were joking it'd be funny to do like the Red Lobster thing, like make it like a recurring event. Like a Sunday service kind of thing.
Church
of the Uglies.
What would you do every week, though?
Oh, we'd just show up and loiter and have a cola beer like we did the other time.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Especially during a pandemic, you could sell CDs that way. People know where you're going to be if they want to buy a physical copy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, global pandemic, terrible thing, but it has allowed for, no one, like, in terms of people, if people see a bunch of guys drinking beer in a parking lot, I feel like we kind of, that you see that happening a little more often, just with the whole not being able to go anywhere or do anything kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I was biking down Waterfront, and man, everyone's drinking booze. It's everyone's walking around with open liquor. It's, Yeah,
it's a thing now. Well, it was always a thing, I guess, but now it's a little bit more of a thing because you can't do anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing.
I have a question.
Okay,
for you,
go for
Sam.
it.
Sorry.
Shoot.
Just what's going? Because I'm this summer I'm working at St. James, at Deer Lodge over in St. James.
Yeah.
What is up with the people? Like I have had, in terms, like I try and bike there to my gig every day, and there was one day I had 3 of the closest calls in my life off of Ness.
Yeah.
What is going on over there
With the drivers?
Yeah, or is it just me? Because I was like,
no, it's brutal.
Are crazy.
It's brutal. The Ness has always got like
and Ness is a shit show right now.
Yeah, well, there's so much construction and potholes and things like that, and it's just absolutely crazy for sure. But no, I've seen people get hit on Ness. Like it's I don't know. I something in the water, I guess.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I felt really bad, man, because this was about 3 weeks ago. I was zipping on my bike, and I was on the sidewalk, and I see a guy with 2 kids, and I was like, oh no. because I kind of came out of nowhere and I dodged it, and guess who it was, Sam? It was you. And as I was biking past you, I was like, oh no. I was it was funny because it was right before I was planning to message you about being on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. I was hoping I didn't tick you off.
No, I didn't know. I didn't even recognize you. But no, it's good. I'm around. I'm always around, right?
Fair enough.
One more thing I want to ask you before we wrap this up is I was looking at I mean, obviously, again, I got the CD here, which you probably can't see because of the background. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have the liner notes in it, but you posted them on Instagram. And what is the deal with the Sherman's Lagoon guy?
Oh man, that was an idea that Shane had, and so yeah, when it the artwork I was talking earlier about, like all the little puzzle pieces that went into putting this thing. So our friend Noah, he drew up the front cover for this one and our last EP.
You can tell the style's the same, yeah.
Yeah, he was the kind of kid, like, in grade 8, if you got up to take a leak and you come back and you look at your notebook, there'd be all sorts of, male anatomy on your sport kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, he kind of went MIA. So we were thinking, who's going to do the artwork? So Shane had a couple ideas, and one guy, actually, we even emailed the dude who did Dookie.
Okay. Oh, really? Oh.
And he actually got back to us, but then he kind of ghosted us after, but he said he would do it. But anyway, so we just, we as in Shane emailed this Jim Toomey guy, Sherman's Lagoon. And the original idea was, can you do all of the art? And he's like, and we wrote him this big long thing, because obviously, growing up and you see Sherman's Lagoon in the paper. So he said, thanks for bestowing me with such an honor. So I'll tell you what, I can't do the artwork, but I'll draw you guys your own ugly fish. And he did it for free.
That's awesome. And yeah, it looks like his style too, for sure. Like as soon as I saw the name there, I was like, oh, it's gotta be the fish.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that was that. I mean, that was basically Shane's idea. And it was one of those, like, because this was kind of near the end, right? That was kind of like a cherry on top. It's like, oh man, how cool is that?
It's super cool.
And especially if he's doing it for free.
That's even better, yeah. So what's the best way for people to find? I know you mentioned it's on Spotify, it's on everywhere else. If someone wants to get in touch with you guys online, what's sort of the best option there?
You know what? Everyone's glued to their damn phones. Go on Instagram. One of us will answer.
Cool.
Yeah, and we can hook you up with a coaster if you feel so inclined.
Awesome.
Yeah.